Hello, everybody. Good morning. It is Tuesday, November 11th, in the year of our Lord, 2025, and rest assured He is our Lord. No matter what the Muslims say, no matter what the atheists say, Jesus Christ is the Lord over America, and I'm not going to apologize for that. And there's plenty of evidence we can get into later, or maybe another episode. That's kind of a whole episode on its own about all the massive body of evidence that we have that clearly demonstrates that the founders had Christianity in mind as the state religion, though unofficially. Anyways, speaking of religion, I've got to talk about this from the very start because I feel like it's the most important issue that we're facing right now, is the foreign occupation of our government by Israel and their ethnic connections. And I'm not going to say that every Jewish person is just loyal to Israel. I mean, there's plenty of Jews that are showing that they have loyalty to the truth. They have loyalty to America, at least that's what it appears like. But you would have to be a fool with your eyes closed and a blindfold over your face to not admit that Israel leverages its ethnic connections inside of the United States with a overrepresentation of those networks in, as Fuentes always says, in the media and academia and finance and politics, just everywhere. This less than 2% of the population controls an egregious share of all of the most important seats in our government. And indeed, the founding fathers did predict that eventually self-serving, self-seeking, corrupt, and evil individuals would rise to the prominent places within our republic and try to dismantle it. I mean, people always make the reference to Rome, how the downfall and the struggles and the context of America has always been equally intertwined with that of Rome, because our entire government is based off of the Roman Republic, and now it's kind of morphed into an empire, just as Rome. It happened in Rome. The Republic became an empire, and then slowly it was being destroyed from within. Forces from within the patrician class, destroying their own empire by bringing in hordes of foreigners who eventually destroyed the soul of the nation. And to some degree, Rome was always this multi-ethnic society. I mean, they tried to integrate people, and they truly believed, and a lot of people who were integrated believed that the Roman system was superior, and they wanted to be Rome. They wanted to have the bathhouses. They wanted to have the the temples and the roads and the fortresses and the aqueducts and all these things. And to a degree, there's a lot of people in America that have become citizens, which I think we're far too generous with our citizenship. Mostly because it's not Americans that are controlling that process. But there's a lot of people that, have assimilated into our empire, so to speak. I mean, we are an empire. I mean, I'm sure Thomas Jefferson struggled with that when he completed the Louisiana Purchase. He kind of pioneered this empire of prosperity and trade. Instead of conquering all this land, he purchased it. But then, towards the beginning of the 20th century, America 100% started to become an empire with, towards the end of the 19th century, you had all these different wars with European powers and the Monroe Doctrine and all these things. But, my point is, I love history, so I can go on and on, but my point is that we are being destroyed from within in the exact same manner that Rome was, which is the prototype of America you could arguably submit. And history is repeating itself. It really pisses me off and annoys me how people say history rhymes or whatever. No, it repeats itself. It repeats itself to greater or lesser degrees of the same events and archetypes, but it 100% repeats itself, and people are seeing history being repeated, and I believe that's why Gen Z and some millennials want to put an end to this destruction. And Gen Z are not hateful people. They grew up in a diverse America. They don't hate brown people. They just want their country back. And they're seeing that, we have this ethnic network that's collaborating with Israel that's trying to destroy our country. And here's the thing, like I said in the last episode, I don't have any ill will towards anybody. I don't really have a hateful bone in my body, but, if you call me your enemy and you try to destroy my civilization, my culture, my religion, I'm not going to hate you for your religion or your skin color. I mean, it's hilarious that people, whittle down cultural and religious and ethnic conflicts down to skin color. It's never about skin color. It's about behavior. And ultimately, you can't judge everyone based on a group. You have to judge people on an individual level, that's what I still believe in. But, chances are, it really does feel like, at least on X, it feels like most Jewish people support this submission of America to the foreign policy lords of Israel. And people like Alex Jones and the Quartering and Benny Johnson, they don't really care. Like, they're getting their money. They don't really care that America is under a foreign occupation. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. And even though I still have so much respect for Alex Jones, I'm not going to say anything insulting about him, but he 100% is being a hypocrite, because he always, his thing has always been independence and America fighting against Britain, and, Trump, if you try to join the British Commonwealth, 1776 will commence again. It's like, good. Where's that energy for a foreign government exerting influence over the United States? Are we even free? How can we be free if we're not an independent country? And you can see that we are not an independent country. I mean, it's not a violent occupation. It's a political top-down invasion and control, a cartel. For instance, there was a federal judge that ruled that burning an Israeli flag is hate speech. It's a hateful act against, and you can go to jail for it apparently, but you can burn the American flag all day, every day, live stream it 24/7, and no one will care. And I'm not saying I want flag burning laws, because I don't. But, a guy who pushes some Jew on or a lady that pushes a Jew away on campus that's like getting in her face and getting aggressive. She gets arrested, and then a guy who throws a couple coins at Dave Portnoy, which I'm not saying that that was the wisest move. I would have just, said what I was going to say without throwing stuff, but, they're going to treat it as if he stabbed someone on a bus. They're going to give that guy the punishment that the Carlos guy should have gotten the first time he committed a crime. I mean, you can just see from numerous examples where there's this inherent Jewish bias, and just like with Elijah Schaffer, who's getting sued by friends of Kash Patel, or Kash Patel himself, through whatever vehicles, because he's alleging with great evidence that that his girlfriend is a honeypot operation. And I'm not going to say for sure, I'm not really going to... he has credible evidence, and it really certainly does look that way. But I'm just saying, my point is that he is just using his First Amendment rights as an American and saying something that really seems to be true and getting sued for $5 million. Which, I get it that defamation is a real thing, but this really just seems like intimidation to a journalist that's trying to uncover something. Because his girlfriend is Israeli, and it's just interesting that the FBI, the guy, at the helm of the vehicle of justice in the United States, has this Israeli girlfriend, and then as soon as he gets into office, him, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino say, "Oh no, Epstein totally killed himself, bro. Totally, bro, he killed himself, bro. Chill." I just couldn't even believe it. The look in their eyes, it was obvious they were lying. And then Alex Jones is over here saying, "Oh, Trump he's blackmailing the deep state. It's the other way around." Bro, as much as I would love to believe that, because that's a better scenario than him just straight covering for pedophiles, it's just wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking to believe that Trump is not covering for these pedophiles, which he obviously is. And, at this point, I think the Epstein saga is outside of the control of the president. He's not going to be able to put a lid on this. The toothpaste is not going back into the tube. So I really think it's going to explode on his face, honestly. And eventually this information is going to come out. And people already know what's going on. They already know that United States foreign policy, at least the foreign policy of the United States is controlled by blackmail. And I get it. The founders devised a standard to which the wise can repair. And, we still have our free speech to a degree. It's under fire. And we have our Second Amendment that's under fire also, but we also have the state constitutions that protect our liberties as well. But they're under fire, make no mistake about it. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, no one could have dreamed of the attacks on the First and Second Amendment, free speech and gun rights in the U.S., because all other rights, the right to a fair trial, the right to a jury trial, the right to a speedy trial, the right to assembly, the right to be secure in your persons and papers. All these rights hinge on free speech, which is how we do battle in the Republic, and then the gun rights, which is how we protect ourselves and our posterity when the Republic has nearly fallen. It's the backstop. It's the pressure relief valve. I mean, it is what all of true Western British common law hinges itself upon. And that goes all the way back to the Protestants having the right to bear arms in England before that was taken away. America is what England was supposed to be, at least the closest representation to ideal. We had the dream, we had the experiment, but it's under fire now. It's under attack, and it's being controlled by people who fundamentally hate Jesus. They fundamentally hate Western civilization, even though they pretend to be the supposed arbiters of Western civilization. I think it's ridiculous when people try to say Israel is somehow the king of Western civilization. It's like, yeah, we got a lot of legal concepts from the Bible, from the Old Testament, from the true Israel. But, okay, so today, they believe in blood guilt. They believe in collective punishment. That's not Western civilization. That's everything that's against Western civilization. They don't have free speech there. They don't have a right to bear arms. They're forced to be conscripted into an army where they can be controlled. So they're armed, but they're under the authority of their army. I mean, that's just, it's about as Western civilization as Genghis Khan. I mean, they were forced into the vaccine and they complied with it. Maybe they got a vaccine that wasn't, as deadly as ours, because it's been proven there were different batches with different levels of lethality in different locations. That's another story. But, I'm just going to, forgive me, I'm just going to pull up my X here because I had a couple things I want to share. Let's see. I've got this post from Global Observatory. Jews will organize as a group to deny that they're a group. I mean, that's what this thing hinges on. I mean, remember Kanye, and Kanye is a fruit pie, but remember when he said all these things about the Jews in the media and everything, and then all of a sudden all the Jews in the media organized as a group to attack someone for pointing out that they are operating as a group, as an ethnic network, as I've said previously. Let's see. I've got this. Let's roll this clip real quick.
He said, when America started blessing Israel on May 14th, 1948, what did it get? What did America get since then, since the Nakba? What did America get since 1948? Abortion, feminism, homosexuality becoming mainstream, increase in AIDS and other STDs, gender ideology, high crime rates, trash in the streets, increased violence, increased divorce, inflation, increased homelessness, rampant atheism, the epidemic use of pornography, disobedient children, social Marxism, critical race theory, and postmodern post-truth philosophy. Wow. So at the end, he asked, are we being blessed or are we being cursed? What do you think? He said,
okay, so 100% true. If you look back, the most prosperous eras of American history, you had the period after, around Thomas Jefferson, and then you had the period of, Andrew Jackson getting rid of the bank and then going back to a stable, independent treasury system. But then you also had the 1950s and 60s, and arguably the mid to late 40s, until the early 70s, when Nixon stole all of our gold in the name of conservatism. When Nixon destroyed our currency, what was left of the gold standard. And I mean, I have mixed feelings about Nixon. I won't get into that right now, but I think ultimately he was a good man. But, you had the 50s and 60s even on the Fed system because there was this remnant of the gold standard through the Bretton Woods Agreement. And, we had this prosperity, but it's like, ever since the end of World War II, which coincided with the founding of the State of Israel, America has just been rotting from within. You got the National Security Act, you got the CIA in 1947, you got the UN, which is the seat of global government, or at least that's the plan. You got the State of Israel, like I said. And ever since we've been, Eisenhower tacitly, I don't really think he supported or really acted against Israel. I think he was suspicious of them. But, he wasn't, like sycophantic like Lyndon B. Johnson. But then you get JFK, and then he's murdered for trying to keep Israel from getting nuclear weapons, and he's trying to set up a silver certificate system to go around the Fed, which I think it's funny that basically every type of, or it's not funny, excuse me. I think it's interesting, shall we say, how every single world leader who tried to depose the bankers and set up a currency that's actually for the people, that's not backed by debt, backed by gold, or it's a state banking system where, it's interest free, they always get killed. Listen to the book. It's on YouTube. It's here on YouTube. It's called The History of Central Banking and Global Human Enslavement, something like that. But it's by Stephen Mitford Goodson. So if you just search that, Central Banking, Stephen Mitford Goodson, listen to that book. You will understand all of history, if you understand that book. At least all of more recent history, but it even goes back to ancient times. It starts off at Rome, I believe, and then works towards today, talking about the different heroes and both tyrants that tried to depose the bankers and were deposed themselves. So where does that... So, what do we do about all this? And it's something I've really been thinking about. I don't think Trump is going to... I really don't think that he's going to make any significant changes to the economic, or rather to the monetary system. He'll make changes to the economic systems of this country, but I don't have a lot of faith in him. I don't have a lot of faith in J.D. Vance. I think what we need to do is very early on, as conservatives, as nationalists, even as libertarians, we need to form a coalition around Massie before it's too late. Because in 2027, the gears of the Republican Party are going to roll towards J.D. Vance. It's inevitable. It's going to be J.D. Vance, and then they're going to try to get Rubio as VP. And we're never going to get this foreign influence off of our land. Maybe if we're lucky, and I can see this happening, J.D. Vance becomes president, and he turns against them. Because even though he's part of this power structure, that's happened. Adolf Hitler turned against the bankers that funded him. JFK turned against the powers that be that were in control of the United States, the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about, and he kind of supported throughout his presidency. Maybe that will happen, but we can't leave history to chance. We have to get Massie we have to get Massie to run as an independent, at least. Because, and I know people will say, oh, that's going to let the Democrats win. I really can't see the Democrats ever winning the White House ever again. So does that mean we have to have less choices? I mean, people complain that they want more choices, that the two-party system is rigged. But every time there is a good candidate like Ross Perot or an outsider to come in that wants to reform and fix the system, you might not agree with everything they say, but every time there's a candidate like that, people just immediately spit on them, like Ron Paul. They just say, oh, you're just helping the Democrats. That's the wrong way to look at this, honestly. Like, are we going to get our country back? Like, I would almost take a Democrat who's actually a nationalist than a Republican who's beholden to a foreign power. Because at least that'll energize the Republican states into passing the agenda. I mean, we got more pro-gun legislation under Biden than under Trump. Trump tried to ban, bump stocks and all that. And then it eventually got overturned in the courts. Thank goodness. Thank God. But, we've got to build consensus around Massie or someone. I mean, maybe someone like Rand Paul, who's, he's against the Fed, but he's, more of a traditional Republican than Massie. Maybe the country's not ready for Massie, but I love him. I think he's brave. He stands on his principles. And it's amazing how people complain about how politicians have no allegiance and, they're just, they only have allegiance to themselves and their money. But it's like, when Massie stands on principle that he's always had, people complain. It's just pathetic. It's like, it's just like Benjamin Franklin said outside of the Philadelphia State House. You have a republic if you can keep it. I mean, we actually need to be educated and vigilant as knights of the republic. I mean, at risk of sounding cheesy, but seriously, like the knight, the archetype of the warrior, the defender of Western civilization, and the republic, the very idea that our country is founded on, that requires fighting to keep it. I mean, I think that's even where the whole concept of the Jedi Knight and the Republic, I mean, it's the same archetypes. It's the same idea. Who was it? Who was it that said the price of liberty is eternal vigilance? Somebody comment down below and let me know who that quote is from. I'm pretty sure. I want to say it was from Jefferson, but Jefferson said a lot of really prophetic things, one of which he said, if the American people ever allow the banks to issue the currency, to control the currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, then the banks and corporations that grow up around it will deprive the people, and they'll wake up homeless and hungry on the land their fathers conquered. Something like that, paraphrase. But that's exactly what he said, and what he said happened. Jefferson was trying to get rid of the first bank. And, eventually that bank was, done away with. So, we literally need to have another Andrew Jackson moment, Maybe we need to pray that God sends us a crude and rough and tough warrior type, like Andrew Jackson, which is why I'm proud to be from the state of Tennessee, to just go to war against this system. I mean, we literally need this Jehu archetype. We need God to send us someone like Jehu, in the image of Jehu, where he rises up from eating and he goes and slays the prophets of Baal. And make no mistake, this banking cartel that's over the United States is satanic. I mean, they fund abortion, which is the modern-day sacrament of Baal, the modern-day sacrament of the Church of Satan. I mean, they admit this. I'm not just trying to be a conspiracy-minded boomer or whatever. I'm telling you what they actually say. They're actually saying that the Satanists, which are just glorified narcissistic atheists, they say that abortion is their sacrament. So they've basically, I mean, they say that they're atheists and they're just doing it to be adversarial against Christianity and have freedom and all this stuff. But 100% the fact that they don't believe in Satan, but they want to be as close as they can to that archetype of the adversary, that is like the purest form of Satanism. The only thing purer than that would be Baal worship, which is just way more evil, which you can understand why that the Bible focuses around the archetype of Baal. So I'm not really black-pilled, I'm not really white-pilled. I know things have a way of working themselves out, and many times we've course corrected, and we've come back to Christ, and Christ healed the land, as the Bible promises. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will heal their land. And I believe all this is happening because when degeneracy, and however it was introduced, but when degeneracy and evil and secularism came to the United States, the American people simply shrugged their shoulders and said, all right, well, I guess we won't have prayer in schools. Okay, I guess we'll accept gay marriage as long as you don't go further than that. Okay, we'll accept abortion. It's a right. Okay, it's settled law. I mean, we just kind of accepted it. And if we reject all of those things as a people, if we reject usury, if we reject abortion, if we reject the homosexual agenda, we will get our country back because, make no mistake, Western civilization hinges on Christianity. 100%. If you get rid of Christianity, just like if you get rid of white people, you don't have America. It's something else. America was founded with a prayer. So, honestly, I didn't really have a topic in mind for this episode, but let's see. Let me see if I've got some more clips here for you. It's mostly kind of a rant, but I don't know. That's kind of how I feel right now. I feel like ranting. Let's see. Oh, okay. So, in other news, Tyler Oliveira, is that how you say his name? He pretended that he wasn't going to release his poop throwing festival documentary because he said he was getting threats. But then he just did that as a trick to make it even more juicy when he finally released the full documentary of India's poop throwing festival. It's crazy. If you think all cultures are equal, watch that documentary. I don't hate anybody in there, but yeah, that's nasty when you believe cow poop is magical or whatever. let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so also the 50-year mortgage. Has anyone heard about that? The 50-year mortgage. Just unbelievable. They want you to pay $1 million in interest in a $300,000 house or whatever. That's supposedly the solution instead of getting rid of the Fed and stop spending $1 trillion on every program. Which, that's ridiculous. Let's see, Anomaly. I love Anomaly. I feel like he's got the right mind about Trump. He supports him when he does things that are good, and he criticizes him when he does things that are bad, but it looks like he's kind of reaching the point that I am. He says, tell Trump to stop acting like a clown and posting the affordability issue is dead. He's covering up Epstein stuff, letting his social media interns tweet like mean girls, brats, on government socials, and making a fool of the party. I voted for him in 2024, and he's a clown. 100% right. You know, if we keep getting these cheap little, Coke with sugar, a 50-year mortgage, like these cheap little distractions that don't actually solve anything, I don't even know if I'm going to vote in the midterms. I honestly, I haven't decided. But, let's see, what else do we have? Okay, so this is from Mal Ombre in regards to the Dave Portnoy situation. He says, LOL, you can't say screw the Jews, but you can write about extermination of the white race. A two-tiered justice system, but not for long. And then he goes and shows all these academics and their books about destroying the white race through intermingling and mass migration and basically, yeah, the Kalergi Plan, the UN Global Migration Pact. Let's see. Rupert Lowe. I don't know if you know Rupert Lowe. He's a parliamentarian from the UK, and he said he's probably the most based person, way more based than Farage. He says, I really don't care what these people think of me anymore. I just want my country back. Let's see. All right, and here is, speaking of Kalergi Plan and UN Global Pact for Migration, listen to this. Listen to Anthony Bourdain as he's enjoying one of his bougie meals. Raw Egg Nationalist says, Anthony Bourdain helped entrench food as yet another justification for the Great Replacement. Nothing of value was lost in the day he deleted himself from existence.
Renee is hitting the schnitzel hard, and I see he has opted for the egg on top. So, Cologne, proud of its attitude towards artists, different cultures. Germany has accepted somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 million refugees. How do you realistically say, welcome to Germany, and we're all going to learn to live together? Can that be done?
It could be done, of course, but I hope that all the right-wing people will not develop. And this is, for example, a job for an artist. Maybe we should go out 100 people with Nazi uniforms and walk through the city. Maybe this kind of actions will just make the people remind on the time and what our grandfathers did wrong. We really have to take care that we don't fall back in these structures.
But we kind of are.
We are on the way. We are
here necessarily. We're well on our way.
I'm allowed to be naive.
I think I honestly
talk about utopias. It's a kind of utopia, just the fact that the whole world will mix up with each other, that in, 70, 80 years, there will be no white people anymore and only cappuccino-colored people.
Look, that's the only way. This is the only solution. This is my way of thinking.
Mix up.
It's our only hope. Is our way out of this.
Yes.
It's going to take some time, but it's really the only way. There's this sort of Singaporean model where everybody's so mixed up that you really don't know who to hate because everybody's so
hopelessly intertwined, but we're a long way from that.
Yeah, I don't really think we're a long way from that. I mean, there you go. It's this prominent Jewish man who is saying openly the Kalergi plan. The father of the EU, his plan, another Jewish man, to get rid of white people through race mixing and mass migration, destruction of Christianity, abortion. I mean, they say the quiet part out loud. I mean, this guy literally wants this just crazy idea of just making one race of people to basically serve them. They don't say that. But, you know, Israel is not going to have mass migration. I promise you, they're not going to get a busload they're not going to get a trainload of Somalians or Ugandans or whatever, what have you. They have the right to have self-determination, but not you, little goy. You have no right to self-determination. We're going to erase you because a long time ago there was a really mean man with a mean mustache, and that's why you can't have a homogenous country. So, I don't think Gen Z really believes in this retarded founding myth of the modern era story anymore. So, alright, I'm going to leave it at that because I'm already at 41 minutes. But if you like this episode, please subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I will see you guys soon. Alright, take care.